Hello and welcome in the online lecture series of BTech fourth semester mechanical engineering. We have a subject called sternomaterial in the MDU syllabus, and we are studying sternomaterial and we are studying bending moment and shear force diagram distribution. After that, now we have to study. In the past lectures, we have covered all the aspects of beams, different types of loadings, different types of beam, their combination, and bending moment and shear force diagram, how they are drawn and what are their relevance. Now we'll be discussing about bending stress distribution. So in bending stress distribution, we have uh, this is a bending moment, bending bending stress distribution, and what is how bending stresses are developed and how they are distributed along a beam. So as we know, beam is a horizontal bar or an element of infrastructure that is used to transfer or transform the loads safely to the ground. So we have discussed all types of beams along with different types of loading. Now we'll be coming to the elastic beams. Elastic beams are basically beams that recover soon after the loading is removed. So these are called elastic beam. So in our infrastructures, we normally have elastic beams, and these are not plastic beams because plastic failure is more harmful and more uh, effective as compared to elastic beam. So in elastic beam, what we do, whenever the load is removed, the elastic recovery takes place and the beam regains its original shape and position. So in elastic beams, we will be discussing the bending stresses and their distribution. We have seen that bending moment is a moment, and the potential of this bending moment is given by bending force multiplied by perpendicular distance. So this is called bending moment. Now the stresses that are developed because of this bending moment are known as bending stresses. Bending stresses are the stresses that are developed because of bending moment, and bending moment is basically the force multiplied by perpendicular distance, and this causes beam to bend horizontally in upward or downwards direction. As we have earlier studied that there are two types of bending moments in beams. One are called sagging, another called hogging. In sagging, the convex or the curvature of the beam bulges downwards, and this is called sagging, and the bending moment is positive. Whereas in case of hogging, the curvature or the flex of the uh, belly is coming upwards, and so this is called hogging, and hogging is a negative bending moment. So here we can see, while we apply different types of forces, different loading, we have bending moments, and these are and stresses due to these bending are known as bending stresses or flexural stresses. Flexural stresses are also they are known flexure or bending stress as they are known. So the relationship between these stresses and the bending moment is called flexure formula. Flexure formula. The relationship between these stresses and the bending moment is called flexure formula. So first we have to define the bending stresses and or flexure stresses, and then we have to define a relationship between bending stresses and bending moment, and this is called flexure formula. In driving the flexure formula, the following assumptions are made. The beam has an axial plane of symmetry, which is to be take xy plane. So we can see the beam has certain cross section, and this is the length of span or the clear length between two supports is called length of span, and this is the length of span. And if we see from the end, we'll find that bending moment, because of bending moment, uh, the top portion has contracted whereas bottom portion has expanded. As we have earlier discussed, while loading, the sagging takes place normally, and this sagging means contraction of the top surface of inner surface and expansion of the lower surface and bottom surface. So similarly, when we see the end section, or from the cross section point of view, we'll find that bottom of the beam has been expanded whereas top portion has been reduced and contracted. So here we can see there must lie a plane, vertical plane and perpendicular plane, that are not affected between these two, because we see this is the line, this is the beam, and we horizontally, and this is top portion, then this top portion is contracting and it has got shrinked, and whereas the bottom portion has expanded. So in between these two there must be a plane that is neutral, that is neither expanded nor contracted. So that plane is known as neutral surface or neutral axis. And we have again, if we see from the cross section point of view, we'll find there is a vertical plane, because if we see, this is a plane that has expanded and there is a plane that has contracted. So we can find there is a plane that is neither contracted nor expanded. So this plane is known as neutral plane, and these two cutting are overcutting each other. And if we see from the end section or cross section, we'll find these are neutral axis of cross sections, neutral axis of cross section, and these are, one is horizontal and one is vertical. So we have to define this neutral axis, and then only it will be coming to expand. So this is the beam. These are the basic assumptions that we have to make before before defining flexure formula or flexure rule. That is flexure formula. The relationship between bending stress and bending moment is known as flexure formula. And then we have these two. When we have these two, when we then we have basically these two neutral axes, and these two neutral axes are perpendicular to each other, and we have got these neutral axes. Then we have to see the assumptions, and the assumptions are that we have, number one, we have to bend does not stretch, and we have to plane sections of beam remain plane, do not warp at perpendicular, and the material of the beam is homogeneous, and deformation is due to vertical shear force and caused by bending only. And these are the assumptions that we have to take. There is neutral axis passing through the axis of beam and is perpendicular to plane of symmetry. So these are the assumptions that we have to take before defining a relationship or flexure formula between bending stresses and bending moment. So this can be seen as, we have this point, we will be taking end section, and with end section we will find that when the, before deformation, we can see neutral axis becomes curved upon deformation as indicated in figure 5.2. We can see that before loading we have a cross sectional area, normal cross sectional area, that is a perfect rectangle, and this is not, this this does not contain any curved surfaces. But when when the beam is loaded, we will find that the upper portion is contracted whereas the lower portion is expanded. So we can see here the upper portion is contracted and their lower portion is expanded. So the neutral axis that is neither contracted nor expanded is this x x. This is x x dash and this is y y dash. So we have got to know that this is the line neutral surface or neutral axis x x, and This is the neutral axis after loading, but the shape of this neutral axis will definitely change and it will come to a curve. Although this curve will approximately equal to the line, and this will not have any significance difference between the straight line and curved line, but definitely it will be a curved line. So we are taking an element or a surface above this neutral line a dash b dash, and we have to study this surface a dash b dash. This is above the y direction. This is above the neutral axis at a distance of y, and because of shrinkage and expansion of the bottom, we will have these two surfaces extending and subtending an angle of d theta. We have assumed that there will be an angle d theta that will be subtending because of this contraction and expansion, and this will, the radius of curvature will be r. So this is given r, this is d theta, and a and b, a dash and b dash is the strip on which we have to study, we have to apply this formula, and there is a neutral plane dx that we have to see, and then bending moment, as the direction of the arrow shows, bending moment is developed in both the direction, and this is trying to bend the moment. This is trying to bend the beam, and this is known as bending stress, because of which the stress is developed is called as bending stress. So I hope this figure, both these figures are clear. And next is we will be knowing Hooke's law. So first of all, let me check what would be the strain epsilon in this fiber. So strain epsilon will be A dash B dash minus bar AB by bar AB. So this is the strain. Expanded or contracted element minus normal element divided by normal element. So this way we will be having a strain A dash B dash minus AB divided by AB. This is all taken into R. So the original length of the fiber is AB bar. So AB bar is equal to dx is equal to rho dx. We can see here AB, original is AB, and this is dx, the length of axis that falls within the rectangular plane is dx, this strip is dx, and so AB is equal to dx, or it can be written as rho d theta. Why rho d theta? Because d theta is the angle and rho is the radius of curvature. So this will find rho d theta, as we know, d theta multiplied by r rho. So this is rho d theta. A bar, B bar is equal to dx, rho d theta. Then we have to find the shear, the strain is expanded strip divided by original minus original strip divided by original strip. So this way we'll have A dash B dash minus AB. So we'll have rho d theta minus y d theta, because y d theta will be original strip. So this is the y d theta minus rho d theta. Rho d theta is the original strip. So we have got rho minus y d theta minus rho d theta by rho d theta. Cancelling out rho d theta, we will get minus y by rho, minus y by rho. So the shear stress is minus y by rho, and y is the distance from the neutral axis of the strip, whereas rho is the radius of curvature of center of radius of curvature of this point. So we have got rho d theta. The fiber form are arc A dash B dash of radius rho minus A subtended by angle d theta. In this deformed length A dash B dash minus rho minus y d theta. So this is clear now. So we have got to know the strain that is developed due to bending. Then we have to check the, assuming the stress is less than the proportionality limit of the material, we can obtain the normalcy in the fiber from former fiber AB from Hooke's law. Hooke's law direct explain that stress is directly proportional to strain. So we have got to sigma is equal to E into epsilon, where E is the elastic constant of elasticity. So this way we will be replacing the value of epsilon, that is minus rho by y. So this way we will be getting stress, and stress is minus E by rho into y. So the normal stress of longitudinal fiber is proportional to the stress of the fiber from the neutral surface. The negative sign indicates that positive bending movement causes compressive stress, whereas the y this way negative bending stress, because in the last slide we have seen that after cancelling out, the sign of the strain is minus y by rho. So the minus indicates a negative stress, a negative normal stress in the strip A dash B dash. So this is the normal stress of a longitudinal fiber in proportional to the distance y of the fiber from the neutral surface. The negative sign indicates that positive bending moment causes compressive stress when y is positive, fiber above the neutral surface, and tensile stress when y is negative. So this is fiber above the neutral axis, and this way we have developed negative bending stress. Now we can calculate P. dP will be minus dP will be sigma into dA. So we have got sigma. First we got strain, then we got stress, then we got force. When we have got force, then this substituting these value, we will be getting dP. dP is nothing but the bending stress. We can see here. This is the normal plane. This is the strip that we have to study. This is the area that we are studying right now. So now this way we will be getting dP is equal to minus E by rho by dA. Now this strip, we have assumed that this strip is above the y distance of neutral axis and x distance from the y axis. So this way will be expanding this dP or pressure element or force element all along the surface. Then what we'll get, I'll show what we are going to get. So integrating y dP will give us the move m. M is bending moment, as we have earlier discussed. So force multiplied by distance is bending moment, and force we have got to know. This is the force dP, and then we have got to know y is the distance. So distance multiplied by force will give us the bending moment. So we have taken bending moment all over this, and this is, we can see, minus integral a y dP is equal to m by a, because this is for area A, then y dP, and m is the moment. So integrating dP is equal to a, we will get 0, because the resultant axis force and the resultant bending moment about the y axis must be 0, because this is, we have seen that this is just neutral axis, by neutral axis. So we are not going to get any bending moment along this y axis and x axis. So this way we will be finding dP is equal to 0. So these three equilibrium equations are developed in detail. So we can see resultant axial force must vanish. The condition for axial forces, this is dP must be 0. So this is, so this way we can find resultant moment about the neutral axis. So again, substituting in this formula, moment of curvature relationship, we will find 1 over rho is equal to m by EI, the famous bending equation that we have earlier studied. So now this is the flexural formula, and flexural formula is given as sigma is equal to minus my by I. After integrating over the whole region, we will be getting sigma is equal to minus my by I. So this is more important formula rather than derivation. Derivation is complicated procedure, and it is often not asked, but the formula is very important, and this on the, based upon this formula many problems come, and we have to solve these problems. So we have to get that bending formula, flexural formula is equal to sigma is equal to minus my by I, and flexural formula is the relationship between bending moment and bending stresses. So bending stress is sigma is equal to minus my by I, where I is the moment of inertia. So this we will also be getting maximum bending stress, that is given maximum value of bending stress, that is sigma max is equal to m max into c. So when the moment bending moment is maximum, the bending stress will also be maximum, and this we will find both the conditions sigma, the bending stress, and the maximum bending stress, and I where I is the c is the distance from neutral axis to the outermost point of the cross section area. C is the distance from outermost point to the neutral axis of the cross section, because we have expanded the formula to the whole region. So this way we will be getting sigma equals minus my by I, and sigma x is equal to m max c by I. So c is the distance from the neutral axis to the outermost point. Now come and we will solve a problem to more clarify, to have more interior view of this concept. So come, one more thing I wanted to tell, that is uh, section modulus of the beam is given I by C. We will be discussing more in detail. We will be discussing in more in detail when we will discuss the double integration method. For the time being, you can take section modulus S is equal to I by C, where I is the moment of inertia and C is the uh, distance from the top portion. This is C, distance from the top portion. You can see distance from the top portion or top layer to the neutral axis. So see, we got M, we got I, we got sigma max is equal to M max C by I, and similarly sigma bending stress is given by minus My by I. So the second thing that we wanted to know, and that is important, is section modulus. The section modulus is given by section modulus is given by I by C, and when we replacing I by C with S, we will be getting sigma max is equal to M max by S. So either we got to know sigma is equal to sigma max is equal to M max C by I, or we can calculate sigma max by is equal to M max by S, where S is section modulus of the beam and is given by I by C. So we can see section modulus is this section modulus of simple cross sectional shapes. This is bh square by 6 and pi d cube by 32. So this is the section modulus of rectangular area and radius and circular area. So this way we will find the section modulus, and if the section modulus is known to us and bending moment, maximum bending moment is known to us, we can find maximum bending stress. So this way we can find bending stress. So coming down, we are having some different types of section modulus, as we discussed: rectangle, solid, circle, or sphere, and then we have tube, then we have triangle. We are not going to discuss right now, just take the values, and we'll be discussing more in our next chapter, in the next chapter. So this time we are not going to discuss here. We just wanted to know these. I am not going to discuss. Just look at the problem that we are having. So this way we are having a problem, and we have to find. Look, this is the problem that we are going to solve. Is that we have a beam. That beam is about 3 meter length, 3 meter length, and it is 120 millimeter wide. This is 200, 120, and if we see this, the length of span is 3 meter, 2 meter plus 1 meter, and if we see the cross section, we are going to have 120 meter width and 200, 120 millimeter width and 200 millimeter the height of the beam that is loaded as given in the figure. So we have got one type fulcrum, and we have got pivot here, and other got roller support, as we have discussed in the bending moment and shear force diagram. This is the most convenient uh, beam, where we have one side of roller, another side we are having pivot, so that whenever the beam expands, it's not going to be started, and the roller will help to be expand in this direction. And when this uh, normal condition is again achieved, uh, so this will again come back to its original position. So this roller will slightly move, slightly 2 degree, 3 degree, and this will accommodate the expanded bridge or expanded beam. But it's not going to harm the bean in any way. As we can see, during summers, we are having during summers we are having temperature of around 45 degree, and this is expanded. So bridges are expanded slight, and this roller accommodates this their expansion. And if this roller is not given and they are contained at this position, they will be uh, they may get distorted and their fracture may take place. So in order to accommodate that, we are having rollers at one end. So these are expanded this way. So these are the details that are given. So this is the dimension 3 meters, 120 meter and 200 millimeter of the beam. Then we have got loading, and also it is asking maximum bending stress. Number one, sketching a bending stress distribution over the cross section in which the maximum bending stress occur. Number two, number three, compute the bending stress at a point of section B that is 25 millimeter above the top of the beam. So it is asking us to solve the question in three different parts, and it is asking three different answers. One is first is maximum bending moments, when maximum bending stress that we have to calculate. Number one, number two, we have to sketch the bending stress distribution. Number three, we have to compute the bending stresses at a point on section B that is 25 millimeter above the below the top of the beam. So these three conditions we will be solving, and first we will see how loading is done. First is we are having a uniformly distributed load 6 kilonewton per meter and a point load 15 kilonewton at a distance 1 meter from the left from the roller support. So we will be having zero point 0.8 millimeter, 2 millimeter. This is the 0.8 millimeter, and then we are having this is 2 meter and this is 1 meter. So first of all we have to calculate reactions Ra and reactions Re. So this way we will be having 15 plus 12. So 15 is the point load, and uniformly distributed load being converted into 16 kilonewton per meter into 3, it is 18. 18, 15 plus 18. So 15 will be acting at 1 meter, while as 18 will be acting 1.5 from the left hand, because length of the span, real clear span is 3 meter, and at the center point this uniformly distributed load will be acting when it is replaced with even point load. So this will be 18 kilonewton at the center. So we have 15 plus 18. 15 plus 18 is 33. Now I'll be taking Ra, and now I'll be taking moment about A and moment about B. So this way we'll find Ra is 14 and Re is 19. So Ra plus 19 is 33 that we have got. So 15 plus 18, that is 33. So if we take moment about this point A, Ma sigma m equal to 0, you will find uh, Re into 3 minus 15 into 2, 15 into 2 minus 18 into 1.5. 1.5 distance, 2 meter and 3. So this way we will be finding, and we also know Ra plus R is equal to 33, and moment we have taken. So two unknowns are there, Ra and Re, and we have to take at least two equations so that we can solve two unknowns, because for solving the unknowns condition is that we must have minimum number of equations that are equivalent to number of that are equal numbers of unknowns. So this way we will find Ra and Re, and this way you can see we have this bending moment, beautiful bending moment and shear force diagram that we have earlier taken. So I'm not going to again take this bending moment and shear force diagram. So you can see the maximum bending moment is 16 Newton meter at this point, 16 Newton meter at this point. We start from 0 and both end at 0. The maximum will be at this section where 50 is loaded. So this will be having a maximum moment bending. So this is the point where we are having maximum bending moment. So we have got to know uh, I, that is moment of inertia. So we can calculate bh cube by 12. I is 0.12. This is 120 millimeter, and this is 200 millimeter. So this is 0.12 divided by 0.2 cube divided by 12. So this is we got moment of inertia 800 into 10 minus 6 m raised power 4. So 100 millimeter is equal to 0.1 millimeter. So this way we have got the 200 divided by 2, that is 0.1 meter, 0.1 meter both side. So we have got section modulus. So we have got moment of inertia. Then we will get maximum bending moment. M max is 16 into 10 to the power 3. That we have already calculated. 16 is 10 to the power 3. Then point 1 we have taken. Point 1 is, we can see point 1 both side. Point 1 is we have been in the section modulus. Point 1 up. Point 1 down. This is the point one both side. So this is point one, and we have got we have got moment of inertia 18 to the power by 6. Substituting these value will be giving us maximum bending moment, that is 20 megapascal. And again, the shear stress at cross section is shown at D in figure D. You can see this is the bending moment, and this is the distribution of bending moment. Negative sign indicates that the bending stress is compressive. So as you can see, this is the bending moment. So similarly, the bending distribution of bending stress is like this. So this is the second part, and then so I hope that this is clear. All the things are clear to you right now. So we'll be taking another problem and more topics in our next lecture. So for the time being, I am signing off. Still, you have any queries or questions, you may get in touch me at my phone number 9069360400. Okay, bye.